All right. Hi, everybody. My name's Leo, and this is Breaking the Fourth Wall. All right. What we're, what I'm trying to do is join the conversation about um, the direction we're headed as a species here, and what I think's the right direction, of course, and why and how and all that. So yeah, let's get into it. Um, I guess I don't know. Maybe if anybody watches this, you'll have to let me know if you're interested in, knowing how I came to have the thoughts that I do. Excuse me. So excuse me. You can tell I'm pretty new to this whole YouTube thing. So forgive me for my novice screen presence, but I'm just trying to get comfortable doing this anyway. Obviously, the question of, what's right and what's wrong is a really important one. It's a really deep one and a really complicated one. I think that's obviously why we're not all in agreement starting from the beginning. There's actually a deeper bit to that. We'll have to get into just the fact that things are hard to do is a really important part of the story. So it's the hardest thing for me really is like, where do I start? I don't think I have to go into too much detail or argumentation about the state of the world and why things might need changing, or things feel lost, things feel hopeless, we need answers. So I don't want to be so pretentious as to claim that these are the answers, because I really do want everyone to come to these conclusions themselves. But I feel like the conclusions I've come to are so reasonable and so coherent that it's honestly hard, once coming to these, once being presented this perspective that you might call like a universal perspective. Once you're able to even glimpse that perspective, I think it's impossible to kind of argue against these reasonable positions and reasonable ideas about what is right and what is wrong, and how we should live our lives. Um, and that's not to get all into the grainy details of the trying to the oversight that the current governmental and worldview systems require in order for the thing to stay together at all. I mean, people wonder why, oh geez, why is the government always trying to intrude on our privacy? Why, it's they want power and control. And sure, same thing with religions, right? What religion doesn't, you know, look like a cult from the outside, where you just see people held hostage by these certain ideas? Or anyway, it the thing that's obvious to me about it is that the a as a group species that we are, and especially to accomplish any of these like great things that everyone kind of inherently admires about civilization, whether it's the Great Pyramids. I think everyone can agree, they're one of the seven wonders of the world, right? But what was required, you could call it the sacrifice of the individuals required to accomplish something like that, is unprecedented. It's actually kind of a miracle that we live in a world where, we live in a country, the United States, where the sacrifice of the individual that really is asked of us is it's minimal. And obviously we want everybody wants more. Well, I wouldn't say everybody wants more freedom, but we're not satisfied with the current level of things. And the truth is, like, so these two like forces of us being unsatisfied and the need for the group to cohere and function in order to accomplish these goals that are, millions and millions of times more important than any individual's wants or needs, right? How important is the power grid to everybody? Like, seriously, the fact that we get power and water and all these things delivered to the millions and millions of individuals in this country, how many lives is that worth? Like, as a society, how many, same with the railroads, right? Like, it's obvious that these things are worthwhile to the group at the time. I'm not saying that this is like some sort of ultimate moral judgment on whether the pyramids were a good thing to build or the railroads, and that it was right for us to have slaves and make people do that. I'm definitely not arguing from that position. I'm merely saying that these are forces of this kind of social contract, you could say, right? What society asks of the individual to sacrifice, and the services that the society, the security and prosperity that the society can provide the individual. We're really going through a rough time because that equation started to backslide, and my generation and below are really unhappy about it. But anyway, this equation of like, okay, what do we really need to sacrifice as individuals in order, not just in order for society to function? Quite literally, that's true. The roads have to be built, the power grid has to work. All these things are necessary in order for us to function on a basic level. But then, getting into Maslow's hierarchy of needs, as far as these kind of greater aspirations that we all have as individuals. Anyway, that's a balancing act that nobody's figured out, right? And as a practical thing, nobody's figured out, right? We say, oh, real socialism's never been tried, man. And well, that's true. There's a ton of ideas about how we should organize society. Plato's Republic, I think, is a really good example. Um, why the heck haven't we tried that? I mean, anyway, because the truth is all these ideas come into conflict with human nature, right? Especially things like socialism and communism and stuff. It's this idealized idea, the woke shit, or um, the these ideas that just ignore human nature. Oh yeah, it's totally okay to you know have have everybody's work be equal, and you know it runs into all kinds of laziness, and you get it, we all get it, we're all human, and it shouldn't be unless you're in denial of your own nature. It shouldn't be hard to accept that, yeah, we're all selfish, dude. And that's precisely why society asks a sacrifice from us. It's the social contract. It's because, yes, we're all driven to try to prosper ourselves. And you can't make a good contract unless you acknowledge that. And look, I'd like to, live in a dream world too. I did when I was a kid, about why can't we all just get along? Why can't things just, be beautiful and people be nice to each other? And there, there's so many reasons to it, but essentially it goes against our nature, our human condition. I'll put it that way, right? The conditions that are essentially like our environment. It's the limit. Oh shit. Is it still recording? Oh, okay. Looks like it's still recording. I thought my camera battery died. Where was I? The human condition. And that's a big part of it, is this balance of the social contract. And quite frankly, I agree with basically everyone's sentiment that the way we've been doing things, whether it's focusing on building pyramids or having slaves or working the 9 to 5. I mean, I certainly prefer the 9 to 5 than all the other serfdom and I mean, even the hard labor of farming. Like, our lives are way easier. But honestly, I don't even know. I don't know. Is it precisely that our lives are easier, and we fall prey to laziness, and that's the human condition? Therefore, we can't have a society that makes our lives easy or too easy. We have to find the right balance. Anyway, that's the discussion we need to have. So, I guess I'll have to do subsequent videos, kind of outlining what my ideas are. But let's. I want this platform to ultimately be another place where that conversation is going on. And I really do believe that there is a ultimate kind of meta direction that we can all live by that will it it won't necessarily dictate the structure of that social contract, but it's more like an understanding of that relationship that that while these like opposing forces feel like they're constantly fighting each other, right? The government's impinging on my rights. The government's trying to take more control of my life, which is true. And the government saying people are out of control and our society's going to fall apart and things are going to stop functioning if people can't just get on board with the program and give more to society. Sacrifice more, because that's the fuel that drives the government, right? Is our labor, it's our work, it's our taxes, our sacrifice of our income, etc. From the perspective of one, the other always looks evil, and just like right now we have these two opposing political ideologies, or not even ideologies, because I don't think either one has a coherent ideology right now, but they're teams, right? And things just divide themselves in this manner, right? Yin and yang, you see it everywhere, and this is just an example of it. The dynamic between what it requires of us to contribute to society in order, and what it really comes down to is how are we going to treat other people and participate and cooperate and give up our own selfish wants and desires for a minute in order to get the most back. Like, that's what I would love to see, is just the maximization of that process, so it was really in harmony. Because the truth is, we think, oh, hey, we're just going to get like socialism, right? We're just going to take all the possessions, right? And we'll distribute them and everybody will get the most, but it's a short-sighted equation. You get the most right now and then you lose later on. It's the same thing all these companies are doing, trying to maximize shareholder profit. It's this denial of the mutual dependence that these forces have on each other, whether it's Democrat or Republican, male, female, society, individual. I mean, where don't you see this dynamic? Where don't you see this? And the answer is always in a balance. It's never in my side is right. And it's just an acknowledgement of this harmony of opposing forces, that while yes, the role of opposing forces is to oppose each other, but it's like a game, like a football game or whatever. The teams, they oppose each other to the greatest of their abilities, but they also acknowledge that in order to play the game and for the game to continue to be the best game that you get to play, that ultimately we all put the game above ourselves and our sides and our teams and etc. And I'm not saying that this means we have to just, we can't be individuals anymore and the tribe has to be collective and just move like a shoal. That obviously isn't working either. That's another failure of recognizing the need for balance, the golden path, the golden mean. This is what we need to this is the first step, is just getting to the place where we can accept that while we can, the paradoxical dichotomy of, yes, I can be on a side, on a team, playing a role which is opposing the other team, but I can acknowledge that the other team has value and the other team is just as important, and that we're partners, we're dance partners, we're spinning around, and the opposition is that we're holding on to each other so we neither of us just fly away. That's the reality. We're not fighting each other. We're working with each other like rough sex, man. We need to get that back into our, we need to get that back into our hearts. Okay? And because that's the basis for all this hate is whatever, just being too lost in the duality of it, not recognizing that, yeah, the yin and yang are black and white, but there's that little dot in each of it that, you know, is it so hard to recognize and appreciate what society provides for us? You know, whether you're the billionaire who could pay more taxes, or the poor person who's not contributing at all because they're just, you know, taking money from the system. Well, I shouldn't say not at all, because poor people still make money and spend money, and that goes into the economy. But you get my point. And exactly, the billionaires, they contribute a lot to society too. So this is all to say that we need to recognize the validity of all this duality of viewpoints and perspectives. They're two ends of a bell curve, and we need to get back to the middle, because it's not just like a utilitarian argument that's how it's going to be that the most people benefit, which might be true, but just that we need each other. We need these two opposing forces. I am a man, and I need my lovely wife. I couldn't do this without her. And it's precisely because she's not me. She's different than me. She has different skills. She has different feelings and different ideas and different perspectives. And if it was all just me, I'd steer this ship mad. And I don't know why people can't recognize that, whether it's this socialist utopian idea or dictators thinking that they have the ability to keep control. We need each other. Anyway, sorry. I'm excited. I'm excited to have this conversation with everybody. So if you see this and you agree with me or you don't agree with me, let's have a conversation. Let's have a conversation. And I'll do some more videos talking about, you know, ultimately what my worldview is.